This is Ian Priddy from the Retro Computer Shack. In this video I'll show you how to connect a Tatung TC01 computer to a TV or monitor via the HDMI input. For the purpose of this video I'm going to use this 14-inch CTEK broadcast monitor. You can still use a TV with HDMI input or a PC monitor, it works just as well. However, some PC monitors aren't compatible as they won't work with the video frequencies that retro computers give out. So if you do get a problem, try a TV with a HDMI input. To do this you'll need my RGB Scart lead, which you'll find on my eBay shop. I'll leave the links below the video for this. And we're going to connect using this low-cost Scart to HDMI converter. This is a generic model, unbranded. However, you can buy branded versions of it. This is the Link 4 version, which you can get used on Amazon or the Link 4 store in the UK, and may have a store elsewhere as well, I'm not sure. We'll also connect using the more expensive professional series of HDMI video converters, the OSSC in this case, and the RetroTINK 2X, which is a straightforward plug and play Scart in HDMI, no settings, but gives very good quality pictures, and is more stable and usually better than the low cost version. And also we're going to use the RetroTINK 5X, which is another professional version of HDMI conversion with several inputs, but we're going to use the Scart input for this one. Just before I show you how to connect it, I'll just give you a little bit of information on video conversion. It is important, and it might save you money wasting money on converters that don't work. HDMI conversion is not just as simple as buying a Scart to HDMI converter. It needs to be compatible and work with the 15 kHz RGB signal that most retro computers and games consoles output. You'll find lots of video converters on the market, but most won't work for this purpose, as they're designed to connect to more standard equipment such as DVDs, video players or VCRs and set-top boxes and so on. So it's important to know that, and this is why I'm showing you these three of the main video converters. You will find a few others that work, but I know these work and they're the more common ones. That's why we're going to use that. Also, I'll just show you the jumper settings as well, because before you can use the Scart lead you need to set the jumper settings in the computer. And I'm not going to go into that by opening the computer, simply because I've already made a video which is the connecting to a TV via Scart, which shows in depth the jumper settings. But basically you need to take the lid off the back of the computer. You'll find these jumpers here, and they need to be set in the RGB configuration there. For more information on that, watch my other video which gives more information on that. Okay, the connections on the back of the computer where the Scart lead goes into, again this is shown in more in depth on my other video, which you can watch if need be. But basically the Scart lead has the Scart plug, and it has the RGB connector and this fly lead, which basically provides a 5-volt signal which is attenuated inside the Scart, which provides a signal for the blanking, the Scart blanking signal, which switches it into RGB mode. If you don't connect that, then it won't work. So there are the connections. I've already connected the video cable on this computer because I can't move it for the purpose of the video. So basically the RGB plug goes into the RGB output on the back of the computer, and then this short fly lead plugs into the analog 1 or 2 socket on the side of the computer. If you don't connect that, it won't work, you won't get a picture. So it is important to connect that. Right, we'll start off with the low cost converter. We'll use this generic unbranded model, and that usually works fine. So, and it's cheaper than most and fairly simple to buy. So We'll connect that up first. So we've got the Scart lead already connected at the back of the computer, as I've mentioned. So that needs to go into the Scart input on the converter. I've then got a HDMI lead which goes into the HDMI input on the back of the monitor. It's already plugged in there. That needs to go to the HDMI output on the converter. Make sure you plug it into the HDMI output and not the input. It has a pass-through connector which we don't use. So the monitor connects to the HDMI output, which is there. Then need to plug some power in, which is there, and switch the monitor on. I've already switched the computer on, so we should get a picture there. Takes a few seconds just to detect sometimes. There we go, and it's come up. It's already been set up for Chucky Egg. As you can see, I'll just zoom in a little bit so you can see that a bit better. As you can see, the picture comes up nice and clear, stable. The colours are quite vivid as well. You may see a little bit of jail bars on the screen, or vertical banding. You can't really see it on here very well, but you will see some. It's not perfect. The video output on the TC01 is not as good as some of the more modern computers, but it's very good generally. You'll also see that it doesn't quite fit there on the sides. That's because the original Tatung monitor was a different resolution than the RGB output that we're using for the converters and TVs. So you will lose a little bit, but in practice it's not very noticeable. And also the picture may be slightly off center. That tends to vary from monitor to monitor and converter to converter. So that's basically it with that one. On the converter, you need to make sure you've selected the Scart input, otherwise it won't work. I'll press that and you'll just see the screen goes off and it shows the HDMI inputs selected there where we want Scart. So I'll press the button again to select the Scart input, and as you can see, the status screen, which comes from the video converter, says Scart input. You may also need to change the resolution settings to match your screen. This is a 1080p monitor, so it's already set for 1080p, which is the best resolution for this particular monitor. One other thing with all the monitors, make sure you set the aspect ratio to 4.3. Not widescreen. It will work in widescreen, but you get an unusually stretched screen. So make sure your monitor or TV is selected for 4.3 aspect ratio. Right, that's about it with that one. We'll switch that one off, and we'll now connect with the OSSC Video Converter, which is my personal favourite. So I'm going to use version 1.7 on this one. This particular one's from Video Game Perfection. I think, yes, Video Game Perfection. Make sure you update the firmware to the latest version before you use it, just to make sure you've got the full compatibility. The OSSC has also got other video inputs. It's got component video, VGA, and the Scart as well on there, and HDMI output. So we're going to connect the Scart lead from the computer, obviously, into the Scart input on the OSSC. Connect the HDMI lead from the monitor to the HDMI output on the OSSC. Then connect the power, and it's got a power switch on the OSSC, and it's also got a display. It's also got a display on the TV as well on screen. So switch the display on, and as you can see, I've already got the RGBS input selected, which is key 1 on the remote there, RGBS. Also, I've selected the default settings on the the OSSC. So as you can see, that's detected a 15 kilohertz signal, and it's outputting a nice clear picture. The picture's slightly more centered on this one, but you're still losing a little bit on the corner. But I say, in practice, you don't really notice that. The sound comes from the computer with the TC01 because it's got no sound output to send to the TV. That's that one. So next we'll connect with the RetroTINK products. First we'll start off with the RetroTINK 2X, which is a straightforward but high quality plug and play. Basically got Scart in, HDMI out, no settings, but generally better quality, more stable, more compatibility, and usually you get slightly more vivid colours than using the low-cost converter. But this one's perfectly okay for most people if you just have one computer or so. If you've got a lot more, then you maybe want to invest in these more expensive options. So we'll use the 2X, so we'll connect the Scart obviously from the computer into the Scart input. Straightforward, you can't really go wrong with this one. And then the HDMI lead which goes to the monitor to the HDMI output. Select some power. And there's power in there now. And you'll get a few lights coming on underneath, which show it. It takes a few seconds to detect the signal, and then we should get an output on the screen, which, as you can see, it's picked it up at 570p 50 Hz. Incidentally, this is a PAL computer, and this is a PAL standard. Those are the TV standards. The main two are PAL and NTSC. It's important that you match the two. So if you've got a PAL computer, you must have a PAL monitor or TV, otherwise you won't get a picture. Right, that's the 2X. And now we'll have a quick look at the RetroTINK 5X, which is again one of the more professional range converters, obviously more expensive. The RetroTINK 5X has component video in, also has composite video in, S video in, as well as the Scart, and then HDMI out. So again, connect the Scart lead from the computer to the Scart input on the RetroTINK, connect the HDMI lead from the monitor to the HDMI video output, then pop in the power, and then you'll get the various lights on the RetroTINK. I've already selected the Scart input on this one, so we should get a picture coming up, which takes a few seconds sometimes. Let me just check I've actually got the, oh no, the input set, right, it's set for composite component. So I'm using the remote control that comes with the 5X just to select Scart RGB, and then it's using the default settings incidentally. As you can see, there are different inputs, so you need to make sure you select the Scart RGB input. Just get rid of that menu, and then as you can see, nice clear picture. Still lose the screen slightly on that edge, and again you'll see very faint little bit of gel bar banding. Other than that, perfect and easy to use. Use the default settings. I've got version 2.76 of the firmware. Not updated this for quite a few months, so there's probably a later version, so always make sure you've got the latest firmware. Right, well that's about it for this video. Hope you find that useful. I'll leave links below the video for all the relevant information that you can download. So thanks for watching this video. I hope you find it useful, and I'll be back soon with more.